Good day, sir. I am Irish C, and I will be discussing my Module 4 midterm. The Cry of Pugadlawin, also known as the Cry of Balintawak, it is one of the most important events in Philippine history because it marked the beginning of the Philippine Revolution against Spanish rule. However, there are different versions of where and when it happened. According to Guillermo Masangkay, the cry took place in Pugadlawin on August 23, 1896. But according to Santiago Alvarez, another Katipunan member, said that it happened on Balintawak on August 24. Some historians like Gregorio Zaid mentioned Kangkong or Caloocan as the location. These differences came from varying memories and perspectives of those who witnessed or later studied the event. Despite these inconsistencies, all accounts agree on the core moment where Andres Bonifacio and the Katipuneros tore their cedulas to show their rejection of Spanish authority and their determination to fight for freedom. This act became the symbol of Philippine unity, courage, and the birth of nationalism. In summary, while historians disagree on specific details, they share the same message where the cry represented the awakening of the Filipino spirit and the collective call for independence that changed the course of our nation's history. So the article Exposition, Critique, and New Directions for Pantayang Pananaw by Ramon Guillermo talks about the idea of Pantayang Pananaw, which basically means from us for us perspective in studying Filipino history, culture, and society. It was originally developed by Zu Salazar, who wanted Filipinos to explain their own experiences using our own language and point of view, instead of always relying on Western ideas. Guillermo appreciates this idea because it promotes national identity and decolonization in our way of thinking, but he also points out some problems. He says that Pantayang Pananaw sometimes becomes too focused on internal or insider views and doesn't change enough with other perspectives. It can also be limiting if it only uses the Filipino language without room for dialogue or translation. In the end, Guillermo suggests that Pantayang Pananaw should stay true to its goal of highlighting Filipino perspectives but also be more open when using different methods and connecting with international ideas and encouraging collaboration. And for me, the main takeaway is that we can stay proud of our local viewpoints while still learning and growing through exchange with others. Joseph Scalice's critique of Ileto's Passion and Revolution, titled Ileto's Passion and Revolution Revisited. Ileto's original idea was that ordinary Filipinos understood revolution through religious narratives, especially the Passion, stories about Christ's suffering. He suggested that these religious ways of thinking shaped how people understood revolt and suffering under Spanish rule. Joseph respects Ileto's insights, but then he points out his problems. He said that Ileto's concept of an underside or lower class resistance is vague. Which groups are included? And there are no class definition. Also, Ileto uses terms like loob that are hard to translate or analyze in a wider scholarly conversation. And the sharp division he draws between elites and the masses is too simplistic. Resistance was more varied than that. To improve the theory, Joseph suggested that future studies should define social class more clearly, allow translation, or bridging Filipino concepts, mix interpretive and empirical methods, and adapt complexity rather than forcing neat categories. And for me, what stood out is that theories that try to recover history from below need to reflect diversity and methodological openness, or else they risk oversimplification. That's all, and thank you for listening.